Hey there, Greg with Boom Up Engineering, and welcome to South Tennessee. And it's New Saw Saturday. Actually, UPS came earlier in the week and dropped off a new saw. So yeah, this is going to be a little bit about tree gear. Now, what I ended up buying was a Husqvarna T540i. Before we get to that, we'll look at my two top handle saws that I've been using as I guess a new climber. I've been dabbling with it over the last couple years or so. Me and my two boys, they're 9 and 12 now. Um, but you know, it's not my primary work, and I do what I can to do the work around my property and friends, and every now and then a paying job. So first saw I bought, and it's only because I have a lot of Makita batteries, Makita tools, cordless tools, 18 volt. Bought the Makita top handle saw, and thing cuts great. I don't know if it's any lighter or heavier than other top handle saws, but we'll look at the weights of the saws I have in a moment. And I think probably most people know that there's one big flaw to this saw, idiosyncrasy. It's that they have a startup protection set so sensitive on the saw that you can't hardly get it started if the chain is resting on a log, or it's pinched in a cut, or even in a little bit of a tight cut. It's not gonna get going again, or it may stall out a little bit easy. And so that's a pain in the butt. And I know why they do that. It makes it easier on the battery and the motor. It reduces all the startup current, mainly. So it protects the saw for them, but it makes for a saw that's kind of irritating to use. You don't always know if you can count on the saw, if it's going to keep running or start up. You're trying to cut through a branch and quickly, and so that the limb falls like you want it to. Situations like that. So you really have to be aware of that on the Makita. And so as a beginner climber as well, um, this saw is pretty heavy. If you can't get, sometimes it's hard to get just the perfect position on a cut that you're going to make, and so you may not have an ideal hold on the saw, and heaven forbid you're doing a single-handed cut. But it is heavy. These cordless saws are heavy, and to be holding it out, if it's more up above your head, you maybe have a chance. But you start getting out like this, I'm not a little guy, but you're not going to do this very often before you're just plumb tuckered out, and you can't do it. So one thing I will say, these aren't they're not super expensive. Don't get me wrong, they're expensive enough. I probably paid $270 for this saw without batteries. They're probably more, unless you really got to shop around. And I've got some 5 amp hour batteries on here. And the weight with the 2 batteries and at least a little bit of bar oil comes in about 10.5 pounds. And oh, before I forget, I have dropped this saw once. It went down with a limb. I was kind of in a bad situation. Knew I was doing something wrong, and sure enough, the saw got caught up and dropped to the ground about 20 feet, 25 feet maybe. I didn't see how it landed, but it did break. Didn't damage the batteries, but it did break some of this blue plastic around the battery holders. And so I was kind of worried that the saw was going to be junk, because the case would be cost prohibitive. But sure enough, I was able to get the case for under $30 from sawagain.com. That's usually where I buy my saw parts. Where I'm at in Tennessee, it's just I don't have any local shops that I know of, or you have to drive a long ways to get to any saw shops, and they're not gonna stock any of this stuff anyway. So less than 30 bucks, had a brand new case. That's both clamshells, both sides, plus the oil tank is built in. So you just have to swap over, your switch and handle and side handle cover, just a few things, the electrical connections in the bottom, that sub plate in there. You just have to switch some things over. But me taking my time, not knowing what I was doing, never seen anybody do it, and filming, took me about an hour and a half on the kitchen table. And hey, that's not too bad. So by the time I paid a little bit of shipping, I think I ordered some other stuff. 35 bucks, brand new case. So that's pretty nice. Now, to be fair, I just looked up Husqvarna, and I think their case halves, I think you buy them separately. So the case itself, I think they're about 20, maybe 25 bucks a piece, give or take, or 30 bucks. Not crazy, but now you get into some of these other parts, like the little buttons here with the little display. You're talking some serious money. You know, I can't remember what the buttons were, maybe 80 bucks or 90 bucks for the assembly there. So Husqvarna is a lot more proud of their stuff. So that's the Makita. And so plans for this, you know, another reason why I got another top handle saw. I'll probably leave this in the truck. You know, Tennessee, there's so many trees down all the time. And if you're going to work early, it's kind of nice to be able to clear the road for yourself and for others when you're going on into work or wherever you're going. So again, no huge complaints on this except for the startup protection. Next saw. So this is my second top handle saw, and this is primarily what I use. This is, you know, very common. The Echo 2511T. Awesome little saw. You know, 25 cc's of pissed off cutting power. Got some bumper on there, some spikes. These are the I guess over zealous or much more than you need spikes from West Coast saw. You can buy the little spikes from Echo, and they're pretty small, but I mean they get the job done. These are excessively long. You lose some bar length, obviously, but thought I'd support a good shop. So awesome saw. Makita was 10.5 pounds. This thing is just under 7 pounds with a 14-inch bar. I've been running 14-inch bars. This would be the 3/8 low profile, I believe, narrow curve. So 3/8 low profile with the .043 gauge, and you know, does reasonably well. But I'm going to change this over to the Oregon Speed Cut Nano. So Nano would be 0.325 pitch, 0.43 inch gauge. So it's a narrow curve, 0.325 low profile. So that'd be the, I guess, to go down even further would be some of that quarter pitch chain, like you go to August Hunnickey's site and get his setup, which sounds like he's got some nice bars. What is a Samara? He's got some Samara bars that he's either, I don't know if he's stocking them yet or he's been testing them. But it sounds like a pretty good thing. I can give up a little bit of speed in the cut for some durability of the chain. I couldn't tell you if you know which way to go. If the Speed Cut Nano's good enough and maybe the best for most applications, or if that quarter pitch chain is the best. So, but we're going to do the Speed Cut Nano on the Echo. I'll put that on today and do some cleanup work around the property. Makita, last time I looked, they do have a sprocket for the Nano chain. It's just not available yet. I haven't been able to purchase it, so I'll have to look and see. But I like the fact that I can run the same bar and chain on at least 2 saws. And it looks like, well, Husqvarna, they've got this X Precision bar. I thought they were the same between the Echo and the Husqvarna, but and it's been a while since I looked, so honestly I could easily be wrong. Well, I am wrong, because you know the Husqvarna has an oiling hole out towards the edge of the bar there. The Speed Cut Nano and, you know, the Makita bar do not. So I won't be able to switch between the saws unless, I guess I could. What you could do, you know, that the dimensions of the bar are pretty much the same as far as I can see. These holes are a little bit different spot. I'll have to see what that does. But you could take like a little end mill or something and do a little plunge cut there and open that up possibly to align with the oiler slot, trough, whatever. Right there, got a little bit of a rubber seal there. That's where that hole lines up with, So anyway, very nice saw. The only thing I've done to this saw to pep it up a little is I've got an Egan pipe on there, and it's maybe a little bit obnoxious, but really not that bad. You know, 25 cc can only be so loud. The only time it's a problem for me is if, you know, I'm reaching up and that exhaust is right in line with my ear, then it's loud because you're getting those exhaust pulses right to your eardrum. That's the only time it's loud or that it hurts your own ears. But other than that, I don't have a problem with it. You know, hearing protection or not. Yeah, unless it's pointed right at your head. So yeah, 10.5 pounds. Now we're down to 7 pounds. So you can wield this any way you want, and it's really nice. The only problem with these chains, even the 3/8 low profile, is that they can be pretty. They can chatter. They can hang up in the cut real easy. So you got to be careful how you sharpen these chains. But again, it's not ideal. So the Nano, I expect it should be quite a bit better, and there must be a reason. Well, you know, it's a little bit smaller, a little bit narrower. You know, it's going to take less load on the saw. The 25cc saw here, you know, it's pretty zippy, but that means there's not a lot of rotating mass. If there's not a lot of rotating mass, this chain can stop and start, or at least slow down and speed up real easy. And so you're getting, you know, the weight of the saw. There's no mass there to hold it steady. That's why I really don't know why they don't put dogs on these things, because when you can get the dogs engaged, it makes it a nicer cutting saw. And so I see these as necessary. I wouldn't run them without those, or I wouldn't like to. But anyway, with the low mass, both rotating and just mass in general, this saw can jump around quite a bit. So I look forward to getting the Nano on there, and it should smooth things out a little bit, I hope. Or we can try the Monkey Beaver 1/4-inch setups. Yeah, so that's that. And if you ever do go to Speed Cut Nano, it does seem to be cheaper to buy the kits. They've got the kit with the sprocket and the bar and the chain as a kit, and it makes it a little bit cheaper if you shop, especially if you shop around. These are all with a 14-inch bar. They're 59 drive links. Like I say, bars are essentially the same. I'll just have to maybe look at the oiling hole. So that's that. The Husqvarna comes with SP21G chain, and this is the Husqvarna. No, this is the Oregon. So this one's the Husqvarna. So the only difference I can see is that the Oregon has some, I guess, oiling grooves in the drivers there. The Husqvarna does not have that. But I can't tell any difference other than that. You know, who knows about materials? I guess that's one thing you never truly know, is do they have slightly different materials for the driver of the cutter? I couldn't tell you. I doubt it, but yeah, can't say for sure, but essentially, you know, should be essentially the same. They're made by Oregon. Says right on the back here, Blount Incorporated, Portland, Oregon, corporate headquarters. That's what came with the Husqvarna. Now, I've looked at the Husqvarna in the past, you know, starting out and whatnot. Knew it was at least a pretty decent saw, but the problem is that, you know, anytime I looked, even when the saw was on sale, it was still, you know, $1,000. $1,000 to get started with the Husqvarna. And that's pretty hard to swallow. You know, they make it sound like, you know, oh, that's not too bad of a price on the saw, it's on sale. But then by the time you add in the battery, you know, you maybe add in the battery and go, well, okay, I guess that's livable. And then you go, well, shoot, now I got to buy a charger for 120 bucks or 150, you know, whatever it is, 130 bucks, and then it just, you know, $1,000 before you know it. So what motivated me to buy a Husqvarna? Well, I was looking on, I'd seen the saws on sale. I do buy a lot of stuff from Bartlett. Well, Bartlett, Arbospace, Arbsession, those are three awesome sites, especially Arbsession. You know, I don't have to pay sales tax. People running the shops are great, at least to my experience. You know, the Arbsession guy, great. You know, I bought, you know, like the Sumura chain bars or chainsaw bars. He's a great source for those and the best price, and he's got some good stuff. Yeah, good companies to support. So you can get things without sales tax from those shops. But anyway, Bartlett had the Husqvarna T540i on sale 500 and I believe 545, right in that range. Free shipping, no sales tax. And then Husqvarna was throwing in a free charger and battery, the BLI 300. So it's a bigger battery, and then the bigger charger, the QC 500. So with Husqvarna throwing that in, and $543 or $545, that's pretty decent. You know, even if you say you pay $300 for one of these, and if you did have to buy a set of batteries, even if you shop around, what is a pair of Makita batteries? 120 bucks if you shop around. So 300, that's 430, say, and you add in a charger, that's might be pushing 500 bucks for a Makita setup. And so you're right there with the Husqvarna with the sales, especially with throwing in the battery and charger. I remember commenting to Husqvarna a few times. Yeah, I'd buy one of your saws, but by the time I add in a charger and a battery, it's just too much. So I guess I took my own advice. If they started throwing those in, and I went for it. So I was gonna buy one from Bartlett, but shortly after their sale, they stopped the sale, the percentage off, and I don't know if it was 15% or 20%, but they stopped that right quick. I don't know what the deal was. They're still doing the free battery and charger because I guess that was coming from Husqvarna. So I didn't order from them, but I noticed another site had the saw and then the free battery and charger, and the website's name was North 40 Outfitters. And first I didn't recognize the name, and I thought, well, that might be a scam site trying to get your credit card info. But then it clicked. It sounded familiar. I'm from Montana, and then I realized, hey, North 40, that's who took over the Big R stores. That was the best farm store in Montana, and I guess they bought them out and took them over. And so I went, once I realized that, okay, it's not a scam. But the thing was, they were selling the saw for $545 or whatever on sale. But then when you added it to the cart, they would put in 2 free batteries and 2 free chargers. Both the BLI 300 and the QC 500. I go, well, that's not too dang bad. I can maybe sell one of the big batteries and get a small battery, because that's probably what I'm going to be more comfortable climbing with. We'll see. But anyway, yeah, that's where I ended up purchasing from. The downside is I had to pay tax, sales tax. Tennessee's 9 1/4 where I'm at, and then I had to pay $29 shipping. So when it was all said and done, I got a new T540i for $626 plus 2 batteries and 2 chargers. The next best deal I'd seen was this saw with 3 batteries, 2 of the smaller batteries, 1 of the bigger, and 2 chargers for $900. And that's, like I say, this is way better than what it was when it was $1,000 for a saw and 1 battery and 1 charger. So should be pretty good. Now, yeah, this is not the newest Husqvarna. They've got the T542i with a clutch, and I've seen videos showing that they cut way better. Some people say they're a little bit better. I wasn't willing to pay an extra $200 just to get the clutch on there. Will I regret it? I don't know. Probably not, because I don't do this full time, and it really doesn't matter that much to me. If it takes another second or 2 to get through a cut here and there, or maybe it's a handful of seconds it'll make on bigger cuts. But I don't mind using gas saws a lot of the time. Cordless, I would say, one reason why I'm drawn to cordless a lot of times, especially if I'm up in a tree, and as I go forward, is when I'm working with my boys, not necessarily recording, but working with my boys, and I want to be instructing them. I don't want to have to deal with them starting a gas saw. They're not quite there yet, but that's the next step. Or if I'm trying to talk to them on the ground and they're helping me from down there. Whatever the case, obviously, if we don't have a 2-stroke saw running, it's just nice. It's pleasant. It's quiet. Or for just makes a lot of things nice. Like right now on a Saturday morning, you're not ripping it up with a screaming 2-stroke. It's actually kind of nice. You can listen to the birds chirp and whatever else. So it's not bad. So we went 10.5 pounds, fairly heavy saw, down to 7. Great, awesome. You got to have a full start and all that. Now the Husqvarna. This thing's a beast. It's a little bit wide in the back end. It's heavy in the back end because of that big battery. And I believe the smaller batteries will shave at least a pound. So we're in at 11 pounds fully dressed out here, no bar oil. I haven't put any bar oil in yet. 11.5 pounds. That's getting pretty dang heavy. So again, well, I'll tell you, I ordered a BLI 200X battery from Bartlett for 150 bucks. Those are on sale right now. That's the best price I've seen on those. So for 150, I'll get a small battery, and what I'll most likely do is sell one of these big ones, unless I think I can find another use for it. Who knows? I don't think it's probably not worth keeping if I can sell it. Maybe I'll sell one of the chargers. We'll see. But anyway, that's where this fits in weight-wise. Ergonomics and whatnot, it's decent. I think I prefer the Echo here with the more slanty side handle. Pretty sure I don't really like that pushing forward on there, but everybody says you adjust easily to that. But there's a little bit of a slant there. It's just a bulkier saw. That's understandable. It's got a big battery on there. Not too bad. It's just a little bit heavy. So we'll see. Like I say, the smaller battery will get it into the realm of the Makita. And once you do that, I'm willing to bet that the battery life on the Husqvarna is either comparable to the Makita or maybe a little bit better. But the weight will be about pretty much the same, I think, or maybe even a little bit lighter. Looking at this saw, it comes with some little baby bumpers. It might be nice to have some bigger ones if you got real what would you say, thick bark and with the big, rough and whatnot shapes that you have maybe out west. I don't know. This is a direct drive saw, so we'll see. It's going to have a harder time starting up than if you have a clutch, but this thing's going to stall out easier if you really lean on it, trying to cut fast, and you lean on it too much, it's going to shut down. So you guys can watch all those videos already out there. I don't need to show you all that. This case and how the battery mounts, it's not my favorite. These things are so expensive. Maybe that's why they wrap the case around it to help give it some more protection than, say, something like this with the batteries just kind of hanging out naked like. I guess that's why they did that. Like I said, these case halves are not crazy expensive, so maybe that's okay. I'm not really a huge fan of how the batteries lock in there, but kind of have to smack them in there to get these catches to grab. Other than that, though, I mean, like I say, it should be a fine saw. They don't stall out as easy as the Makitas. Of course, now you've got the Milwaukees out, which seems like those are some of the cheapest ones right now. With them on sale, I saw the Milwaukee with a 8 amp hour battery for 350 bucks at Home Depot, and you can't get cheaper than that. Those batteries are not cheap. That's one thing I don't like about the Milwaukees, though. They're running at 18 volts, and so you need their bigger capacity batteries that have enough amperage to run the high current devices like that. And those batteries aren't cheap. Sometimes they'll throw one in, and that's how you get the price down. But that's kind of a pain in the butt. So it is, in some ways, it is nice that Makita, at least on their 36 volt series, they just take two 18 volt batteries and wire them up in series to get the higher voltage. And so higher volts means less amps for the same power. So that's what's really nice about that. But the Milwaukee, from what I've seen, you guys can watch the videos, but you can really lean into that saw. It's got a gearbox apparently that slows the chain down. That can be bad in some ways. High chain speed means fast cutting if you have the torque to turn it. But on that saw, if you're gonna if you want to cut fast, you can actually push down into your cut and it's going to keep going because it has all that torque, whereas the Husqvarna is going to stall out. So this one's direct drive too, so no huge difference. plenty noisy. I don't have the chain on this one, obviously. So no chain on there, but the motor certainly is quieter. So it's got kind of pretty good high-pitched whine to it. What else to say? Anybody knows what this is for? I'd be curious. I don't know if that's just for hanging up the saw. You know, that's a plastic, oddly shaped, clevis looking thing. It says no rope. I didn't know if it was like for if you wanted to lanyard your saw and you were worried about the saw getting caught up, you didn't want it to pull you with it or something. I have no idea what its purpose is. You know, it's right next to the regular hanging loop. And I can't tell. They're slightly connected. Yeah, so anyway, is that just for hanging it? I don't know if you have a peg on the wall or something and hang it up like that. Is that what that's for? I guess that's what I might use it for. So, what else? I got this the other day. Ordered it from Japan. Japan. You can order them in the States, but I went for the cheapest route possible. They looked exactly the same as to what they sell in the States. This is a little cordless blower. And, you know, if you need something compact for blowing yourself off or blowing the saws out, you know, and you don't have a big old leaf blower with you, this is pretty cool. And they've got a few tips that they give you. You know, you can use it for inflating inner tubes and air mattresses and things. So that's one reason why I got it. But also, you know, if I'm just dinking around and I don't want to be lugging a big leaf blower with me, I can use this to blow off and clean up both myself and the saws. You know, and they're a little bit proud of these for what they are. You know, let's say about 150 bucks, give or take. Maybe, yeah. I know you'll spend a little bit more than buying from Amazon, probably in that $170 range, which, you know, like I say, is pretty expensive for what it is. Just a little, you know, electric motor and a fan. You know, a drill is an electric motor and a cooling fan, and then it's got a gearbox and stuff, and do more work with it. But that said, it is pretty handy. I will give them that. You know, you want to blow out electronics. The canned air these days has gotten so dang expensive. That's hard to want to pay, you know, $5 for a little can of compressed air. And, you know, this thing blows pretty good, and you know, it'll be oil free because it's not being compressed. It's just got a fan in there, so should be good for that. So yeah, glad I picked that up. Just got off eBay from whatever seller in Japan. And yeah, that's about all I can think. Yeah, question, comments, or concerns, yeah, just comment down below. You know, I'm just doing this to show you what's working for me. You know, $545 for a brand new T540i. I decided to finally do it. You had to pay a little shipping and sales tax, but I got to assume that, you know, I can't always get out of sales tax being in Tennessee. But I expect that to be a good saw. Good enough for me. Good enough rather than spend another couple $100 on a 542i. So yeah, as always, thanks for watching and have a good day. Just a little more video. Let's look at these saws kind of side by side. You can got them kind of lined up with the spikes. Come on, baby. So you can see how the length and, you know, just overall size of the saws compare. You know, this is obviously the baby of them all, and then you got the big mama in the middle, where, you know, the overall length of the Husqvarna is I mean, it's noticeable. It's just a bigger saw, and I think that might be one knock against the Milwaukees, is that they're kind of a large and clunky saw as well. I think maybe their side handle is a little more ergonomic than the Makita, but I don't know how much that matters to a lot of people. But again, I've got them kind of lined up at the bumper. You just kind of see how the old Husqvarna compares. It's the big one. All right, that's all.